Gameplay is rolling, and right off the bat, you can tell this is not a powerhouse rig. This is an i3 CPU, minimal setup, RAM, and what passes for dedicated graphics. Well, no graphics card in the traditional sense. I pushed everything to the bottom, lowest texture, detail settings, shadows off, minimal effects, and used FSR, Fidelity FX Super Resolution, in ultra performance mode to try to wring out whatever juice was left. What I got? About 20 to 30 FPS most of the time, occasionally dipping a bit lower under intense firefights or when a bunch of geometry, doors, guns, character models, etc. had to load at once. The game lags or stutters just a tiny bit, more like someone whispering, "Now," off-beat rather than a full-on seizure. Visual glitches? Yes. Most noticeably on road textures, weird lines, low-resolution patches, odd popping. Other assets like gun models, operators, sky, distant trees do fine enough for me not to want to gouge my eyes out. First launch was rough. Shaders compile took forever. Felt like waiting for water to boil when you only have cold coffee. 4+ hours isn't kidding. The shader compile phase dominates in the beginning. Then, every time a new map or area loads, assets like doors, walls, guns flicker or load late, so you'll see placeholders or weirdly delayed geometry. Once everything is warmed up though, shaders done, core assets loaded, the experience smooths out somewhat. Not silky, but tolerable if you don't mind low FPS and are okay playing with your expectations. If you're in the mood for competitive gunplay, this won't cut it. But for messing around, running circles, or low-pressure drop zones, you'll survive. Also worth noting, the CPU and RAM were close to maxed out. Without a proper GPU to offload graphics work, the CPU has to pick up a lot of slack, which shows in those long load times and the occasional stutter when new objects stream in. All that said, even in these constrained conditions, the frame rate stays mostly consistent, not wildly fluctuating, which is a win in this scenario. Playing Warzone like this, on a machine that's more vintage office PC than gaming rig, teaches you patience. Gunfights feel sluggish. Aiming down sights isn't as responsive, flick shots suffer, and tracking fast enemies is a nightmare. Movement through the map feels like dragging yourself through molasses when there's load popping or streaming of textures. On the upside, you get a sense of what's essential. Clear audio, simple sound cues, map knowledge, positioning matter way more when your hardware doesn't bail you out with smooth visuals or frame buffer slack. Visuals are serviceable. You'll see the hallmarks of low settings, low-res textures, simple lighting, little to no shadow complexity, but the engine still renders recognizable environments. Landmarks are visible, buildings look like they should, gun sounds are sharp. It's just that detail is sacrificed. Distant objects pop in, some textures are muddy, and surfaces like roads or distant walls suffer from aliasing or weird seams. It's not pretty, but functional. From comparing online reviews, many testers with similarly minimal specs say the same. Warzone is just playable at ultra performance and lowest settings, but only barely. Some say 25 to 40 FPS in open fields, dropping into the teens in dense urban zones. Others complained about the shader compile times, first launch, long asset loading, and stuttering until things are fully cached. But a common comment? Once warmed up, you can actually finish a game. It's rough around the edges, but not broken. Humor moment. With a rig this weak, you sometimes feel like you're playing with one foot in the grave. Every time the road texture glitches, you wonder if the PC is crying inside. But the grit gives it character. You're not winning gunfights often, but surviving feels like victory. Low FPS means you need to predict more, aim smarter rather than fast, move cautiously, avoid being in the open too long. It turns Warzone into a more tactical or desperate game, which is interesting. In the end, would I recommend playing Warzone on a PC of this level in 2025? Only if you have very limited options and playing at all is your priority, not winning or visual fidelity. You can get through matches, you can have fun, but you'll constantly be compromising. Frame rate, visual quality, load times. If you expect smooth gunplay, fast reactions, or beautiful detail, this setup won't deliver that. If I were you, I'd look at alternatives. Either upgrading some hardware, even a modest GPU, or more RAM helps a lot. Or choosing games designed for lower spec machines with less streaming or unload load. That said, credit to Warzone for being just barely usable in this mode. Developers clearly have done some work with FSR and performance scaling. It's just not enough to overcome the limits of minimal hardware. Thanks for sticking through this pixel struggle with me. If you liked seeing how Warzone behaves when you don't have the luxury of top-tier gear, drop a like or comment what rig you want me to torture next. Subscribe if you want more "How bad can it get and is it still fun anyway?" reviews. Stay humble, stay curious, and I'll catch you in the next one.